Hey! Welcome!
Welcome, Wingers.
Welcome, Wingers! It is Wingin' It, the West Wing Podcast. This is Andrea. It's my friend Sallie.
Hello.
What's up, guys?
Here I am.
We are here. We are all here, and we are here to recap the episode number 20 of season 1, which is mandatory minimums.
Yeah, it is. I can't believe we're on episode 20 already. I think I said that like in the past 3 episodes, so I'm really sorry, guys, but it's just flying by.
We still can't believe it.
We really can't.
They grow up so fast, these podcasts. You try to train them in the right way, and then you have to let them go.
Pretty crazy.
Whew. Should we sing?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
That was a pretty good one. I'm not gonna lie.
It's like we don't even try to get to the whole thing.
No, I give up about halfway through. Because honestly, and really without it playing, I don't know how it goes next. When it's playing, I sound exactly like it. Let me just tell you.
Okay.
But
you need,
maybe
you should make it your ringtone or something.
Yeah, I should just
so you
practice.
Can hear it more often.
I'll practice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's Snuffy. He writes a mean theme, y'all.
Yeah, he does.
Whew.
That's Snuffy.
Snuffleupagus. Hey, well let's recap what happens in this episode. Mandatory minimums.
Yeah.
Sallie, why don't you take it away with the TikTok?
Okay. So for the TikTok for this episode, President Bartlett has thrown his hat over the wall on metaphorically, following up on this whole let Bartlett be Bartlett thing. He's taking a stand and he is nominating 2 candidates to the FEC. He's nominating the candidates he wants to nominate. So this episode's kind of about different fallouts from that. And also they are pursuing they're talking about some drug legislation. They're talking about mandatory minimum. Well, some of them want to talk about mandatory minimums and some of them don't. But
for sentencing.
Yeah. And so they bring in Al Kiefer to talk about some polling stuff, which also brings us Joey Lucas. Hooray.
Woo!
And Toby talks to his ex-wife, and because she's a congresswoman, we meet her for the first time, and we get to see their interactions, and that's kind of the big stuff.
True.
Unless I'm forgetting something, but I think that's pretty much it.
Now, guys, don't get confused. Toby's ex-wife's name is Andrea, but it's not me. No. Even though I love Toby, we were never married.
Okay. I was a little confused, so I appreciate the clarification. That would have been a conflict of interest, I think.
Well, I try to keep it 100 right here.
Yeah, for sure.
So how'd you feel about this episode, Sallie?
I like it. There's a lot of good humor. There's not a ton of crazy dramatic stuff going on. Well, we all know that I love Joey Lucas, so I'm glad that she is back. I think I just love that character. And, I just love watching Josh react to Joey Lucas.
Yes. It's fun that he has someone to play with.
Yeah.
Other than Donna, Because she gives him a run for his money.
And not even play with, because we've talked about the fact that Josh sort of picks girls that can keep up with him, and he goes toe-to-toe with them, and, all that kind of stuff, like a Mandy or later on other people. But Joey sort of takes him out of his comfort zone. She makes him nervous, and she's new. It's a whole different side of Josh. Because Josh is pretty cocky and pretty go get 'em a lot of the time. So it's fun to see him in this sort of mindset.
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining. There's so many great moments in this episode in particular. One that has nothing to do with Joey Lucas is at the very top of the episode when he finally gets the call from Steve, the Senate Majority Leader's chief of staff, the people that are going to oppose Bartlett's nominations. That's what it is. So he calls Josh, and that's when Josh tells him he can take his legislative agenda and what? Shove it up your beep.
Yeah.
It's a family-friendly podcast. Oh, it was so great, though. And then it goes straight into the opening title theme music, and it was
Yeah,
that's delicious.
That's a great scene. Also because it almost goes straight into the title, but Josh actually has a line after he gets off the phone, because right before this, Sam and Toby are sort of not giving him a hard time, but they're like encouraging. They're like sort of trying to coach him through what's about to happen.
Right.
And when he hangs up the phone, he says, "Turns out I was fine." And it's like, he very clearly was not. I mean, we loved it, but very clearly was not fine. Which, brief, tiny shout out to all the boys in their tuxes. I won't dwell on it, but
yes,
just worth honorable
it doesn't
mention.
hurt. Honorable mention. Those will be our MVPs for this episode. It's like Tom Ford and whoever else designed the tuxes that these men are wearing.
Yeah,
it's true. They got their swagger back now because they have their new strategy. Let Bartlett be Bartlett. Let the men wear suits. Right. Let them be ballsy on the phone and hang up on people. Like, I'm all about it.
They've got their swag back for sure. Also in the opening scene, CJ, we sort of come back to CJ and Danny's storyline, and CJ is a little not happy with Danny.
A little frigid. Yeah. A little bit of the cold shoulder happening.
Yeah, and it's such a bummer because A, we like to see CJ and Danny interact in a happy way, but B, because I don't agree with CJ. And so I hate it's uncomfortable, I guess, or annoying to like watch her be mad when I'm like, you shouldn't be mad at him.
Yeah. But she is. And it's only gonna get worse, my friend. Yeah. It's gonna get worse. Well, what else happened? So they take a little field trip. We get a little exterior shot. Toby and Sam are walking to breakfast to meet the rest of senior staff. And I'm noting that we're seeing more of Margaret again as the very random, like almost a Phoebe sort of character, except she works at the White House. You know, she's very colorful and quirky.
Right.
And of course she's working directly with Leo, who's very straight-laced. So shout out to Margaret there. But we see Toby and Sam walking to breakfast, and it turns out that like they overshot where to turn to go down the right street for breakfast. And Sam like just kept talking even though he knew they missed the turn. And Toby's like, well, why did you do that? And Sam's like, we were having a nice chat. I mean, like, Sam,
which is not the first time this has happened with Sam. So
no,
maybe it's Sam that needs a little help.
Sam just really values relationships more than most people on the show. Clearly,
yeah. So that's great. That's a cute, funny scene.
It's endearing.
Yeah, but then they go to breakfast, and that's an even more fun scene, the actual breakfast. Donna is giving Josh a hard time because Josh has on his Joey Lucas suit.
Let's just play it for you so you can enjoy this lovely breakfast scene.
You couldn't meet closer to the office?
I don't want people coming by the table.
Couldn't meet in the office?
I was hungry.
Couldn't have food?
Oh, sit down, would you?
You should notice that Josh is on a nice suit.
What is a nice suit?
We'll call it his Joey Lucas suit.
Donna?
You know, from now on. Joey Lucas is coming?
We need a California expert, and this is my regular Tuesday suit.
You assign your closed days of the week?
I'm saying there's no particular MO behind...
About time. Sit down.
And then they talk more about mandatory minimums, and then the conversation comes back around.
I'd like to clear up that I don't have suits for days of the week. And this is just a regular suit.
It's a nice suit.
Sure, it's a nice suit. It's his Joey Lucas.
Donna!
I'm beginning to regret not getting the waffles.
I am beginning to regret having hired any of you. We have a 42% job approval, and you're talking about waffles and something with Josh I don't understand.
He's wearing a special suit for Joey Lucas.
You got dressed up for a guy named Joey?
Joey Lucas is a woman, and I am not getting dressed up for her.
It's his regular Tuesday suit.
My point is, we have to make it through the week without making any mistakes.
We will.
I'm saying that this
I'm saying, calm down.
I'm perfectly calm. You're not calm, Leo. You're acting like a nervous Oyelia.
A what?
May not be a word. May just be something my mother used to say.
I mean, I would play the whole episode if we wouldn't get thrown in the slammer.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, the whole episode has a lot of. It's another one that has a lot of one-liners that are harder to play. Just the one-liners, but that breakfast scene is especially Josh's reaction to Donna. I mean, he's literally like a 5-year-old boy, like, Donna. Yeah. It's just so you're
great.
Just like, Josh, what is happening to you?
It's so enjoyable at the end of the episode where he finally, well, I guess it begs repeating that during the episode, like when Joey shows up, Josh has this whole thing about not personalizing her desk the way that women tend to do.
Right.
This is your desk. You got a phone, you got a computer, you got access to a staff. I know how women like to personalize their desks with flowers and plants and hand lotion, but I prefer the place to be professional.
Your staff likes to decorate their desks with hand lotion?
Some of them might, and I'm saying that we don't do that on my side of the building. I'm going to go back to this meeting, and then I'll brief you on what I need.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sleeping with Al Kiefer anymore.
Come here.
Can I help you?
Yes.
How?
By coming here. This is a place where solemn work is done. This is a place, let me say this. This is not a place where one's personal things, where things among people. This is not a place, this is a place where work is done and nothing else.
You bet.
Okay.
Nice suit.
I'll be back.
And he's got this whole bravado thing going on of like really trying to put her in her place and be professional. Just the same thing he kind of did with Mandy, if we can recall way back when.
Right.
And Charlie has some feelings about the fact that Joey's coming and working in the West Wing, trying to give Josh advice.
And then Margaret shows up in the end of that scene with the flowers.
Yeah, of course. Anytime Josh says, I wouldn't expect this or that, like, you're not going to meet the president, crazy lady, or like,
right.
I wouldn't expect flowers and candy. And then, of course, Margaret shows up with flowers and candy.
Yeah,
that's what happens with Josh.
Which I just don't really like see Leo sending flowers, but then later he's like, oh, it's the nice thing to do. So maybe he would have. And really, this is an interesting thing about this episode. I mean, not that interesting. It's interesting to me. But a lot of times on the podcast, we're talking about, like, would this happen? How did I feel about this? This episode, I really didn't have that many things. I think this was the only thing that I really wrote down that I was like, would Leah really do this? And, like, the rest of the episode, I just thought was really... They're all well done, but there's something about this episode that I just didn't have that many... I just liked all of it, I guess. I didn't have that many issues to point out, which sometimes I'm searching for them too. It's not, well, maybe.
Might it become a rewatcher?
Some of my favorite scenes are in this, like shove your legislative agenda. That one's one of my favorites. The breakfast scene is one of my favorites. There are fun quotable lines in this one. It's not one that I would like go seek out. I always tend to go seek out the emotional ones, really.
True. And this one's not very emotional.
No, it's not.
In a loud sort of
way. But it just was a well-done episode. The plots all flow very well. There just wasn't a lot that I was like, eh.
True.
Yeah. Which is saying something, because when at least for me, when I'm rewatching them, it should be noted that, like, I rewatch them with an air of skepticism, just so we'll have stuff to say on the podcast.
A critical eye.
Yeah, because the show is so good that you have to watch it like, what's something wrong that we can, like, at least, like, debate about on, because otherwise it would literally just be 30 minutes of us going, this was so great, and this was so great, and this was so great. And that's sort of how I feel about this episode. So, oh well.
I know, there's a lot of this is so great in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, the running gag about this is my regular Tuesday suit when Josh is trying to, tell him that he's not wearing a special suit for Joey Lucas, and then his defense becomes something that they make fun of him for. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, there's just a ton of one. Sam at the breakfast table saying the thing about you're acting like a nervous, I don't even know if I can say it, you're acting like a nervous Juliela. And they're like, what did you say? And he's like, that might not be a word. That might be something my mom made up.
It's just so
it's like, you're a writer,
delightful.
dude. Or did you not know it wasn't a word? That's pretty funny. is delightful
True.
because isn't that, I mean, I feel like people have words like that from their parents.
I do not.
You do
not?
You
have made up words? No.
I don't have made up words, but I have, my mom growing up used to always say the word Cersei, which is not a made up word at all. It is, I think it's French for surprise. It's Cersei or like treat. It's French for either like treat or surprise. And so my mom would say like, oh, I'm going to bring you a little Cersei. Or like she would give the dog a Cersei, like a treat, which is what I still say that I'm giving my dog. And so for my whole life, I thought that word was made up until I was probably like 14 or 15 and somebody else said Cersei. And I was like, excuse me? So, I don't know.
Are you my brother?
I feel like families have little quirks like that, probably. Sometimes.
My parents didn't make up words, I don't think, but I think they did make up lies. Like, they told me when I was little that if you ate the crust off of your toast, it would make your hair curly.
What? Yeah, that's not true.
I think that's why I still don't like the crust of the toast, because I used to have curly hair when I was a little wee lass, and I didn't want it to be more curly, so I didn't eat it. It's not true. That's not true at all, guys. You can eat as much as you want. It won't happen.
You heard it here first.
Anyway,
but
groundbreaking stuff here on Winging It. What else happened? So,
CJ has a storyline here.
Yeah.
She makes a little uh-oh earlier on in the episode. In her press briefing, she says that the president has nominated 2 members to the FEC, and he's nominated a Democrat and a Republican, which he was certainly under no legal obligation to do. Well, turns out later in the episode that he was under legal obligation to nominate 2 certain people. So, which is especially a bummer because Leo has made such a stink about, he literally at breakfast says, we have to make it through this week without any mistakes. And this seems like such a tiny mistake to me because can't she just go out later and say, just kidding, he was, and like, it just doesn't seem like.
And she did.
Yeah, and she did, and then we didn't ever see any press reaction. So it just doesn't seem like an end-all mistake. But, I mean, I guess it's just, we don't want any mistakes, period. We don't even want the tiniest thing to, like, trip us up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ended up not being a huge deal. It just stinks for her. I just feel like, bummer, CJ. It's another down week for you, girl.
It is.
You're
that's
not
why
having a good time.
Yeah, that's why it's a bummer because it knocks CJ down. You can tell that she's just like, well, you can definitely tell because she goes off on Danny.
Yeah. Shouting.
It blows up.
I don't like it when they fight. I don't like it.
I don't like it either. And as much as I don't like CJ, I don't think that she should be mad at him right now. She could go off on him. I thought it was fine for her to go off on him about calling her Bush League in front of everybody. That was A-okay in my book. She said, you don't get to talk to me that way in front of everybody else. So while I think she should give him a break for the memo story, I thought it was A-okay for her to say that about, like, you don't put me down in front of the press.
Yeah. But where does that expression come from? Bush League. Because then I started thinking about the administration, like President Bush. But that's not.
No, because subtitles.
That.
It is spelled
S-C-H?
Yeah. It's spelled S-C-H.
But where does it come from?
This says the term is derived from a NASCAR's joke of an undercard, the Bush League of Racing. So it's
like a NASCAR joke?
It's like Bush League is the racing right below NASCAR.
Oh.
Wait, maybe?
Amateur hour. That's surprising to me. I had no idea. Maybe you're right.
That's what my very first link said. But then on Merriam-Webster, it's spelled B-U-S-H. And it says a very low quality. So, who knows?
I don't know.
Maybe a listener knows and they'll tell us.
Yeah, tell us, guys. We want to know all the things.
We do. I want to know all the things.
One thing that we got to know in this episode was Toby's ex-wife, Andrea.
Yeah.
Andy. I tried to go by Andy for a while.
It didn't go
well? It didn't really stick. No, I did it for like a weekend event, and it was cute. I liked it. I liked being called Andy. Now I'm typically called Dre, but I would bring Andy back.
Yeah, I like boys' names for girls, so I like Andy's name.
It's like Scout,
but it would be hard
to Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, it would be hard to change halfway through your life, I think.
I've had many iterations of names. I'm like Prince or P. Diddy.
There's not a lot of change for Sally. Some people call me Sal, but I don't encourage it. Well, it depends on the person and how they use it. Anyway, as we're dissecting how we prefer our names to be said, we do get to meet Andy. And how we get to meet her
Congresswoman Wyatt.
Yeah, how we get to meet her is kind of funny because Josh and Leo kind of set Toby up to go do this.
Yeah. It's like a date.
Yeah. Because they're like, we want you to go meet with this congresswoman from such and such who believes in such and such. And Toby's like, that's funny because I used to be married to someone fitting that description. I can't remember what the description was, but so they're essentially like, oh yeah, it actually is your ex-wife.
And what are the odds that they set it up where it's like a picnic outside? Yeah. Come on.
It was a little odd.
Like it was very funny. She was being super casual and familiar with him, and he's super uncomfortable, like visibly uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I love it at the end of the scene. He's like, come on, I really don't like being outside this long.
Yeah. I wonder, I'm trying to remember now if we ever get like a history, a background. Like I wonder how things ended, if she ended it or if he did. Do we ever know that? Because from this interaction, I would assume she did, because she seems more okay with it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think that was my impression, is that she divorced him.
Right.
Also, because he seems like the more difficult person.
Right.
So.
Oh, yeah.
It would follow upon. But she also talked about dating somebody. And apparently, according to West Wing Wikipedia, and probably just by watching with our eyeballs, Toby's wearing a wedding ring throughout the episode, even though he's divorced.
Is he really?
So that says something. That's what it said. I didn't notice it on the first watch.
All the time?
I don't know.
That's very interesting to me.
Now we have to go back.
Yeah, we really will.
Start over.
Mm-hmm.
Sheesh.
Yep.
Yeah, then they're like fighting about pie or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's something about pie. They're sort of fighting at first, but then they end on like Toby kind of asks for the pie, and so they're kind of flirting, and it's just like, what's going on here? So
give her the pie already.
How do you feel about Andy/Andrea?
Well, I think she's wonderful, and that name is just fabulous. I like her.
Yeah. I do too. I mean, she's not my favorite character ever, but I think she is believable as having been married to Toby. Because that would be a hard thing to write or to cast, and I think it is believable. I do buy it. So I like her in that regard. I'm not like, I mean, she doesn't really play that big of a role throughout the series, but I like the little bits we see of her.
True.
So there's that.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then Leo is meeting with some folks in the press room, and it was very confusing. We didn't really know what they all had in common. Margaret didn't know. Apparently, these are all people that
these are people who would fight back on them on changing any sort of drug legislation, whether that's mandatory minimums or anything like that. It's anybody who would sort of put the brakes on for the legislation they're trying to pass.
But these are the people who would fight back, but Leo knows something about all of their bosses that would make them very hypocritical for them to fight back about. Right. So he's basically gathering them together in the locker room saying, hey guys, before you decide to take this course of action, just so you know, we know all the dirt about all of your bosses.
Yep, it is.
So,
fun fact, this is a little personal information here. It's not that personal.
Oh, well.
In referencing some of these representatives' backstories, one of the daughters of one of the congressmen or women, was arrested in Greenville, South Carolina, which is where I reside currently.
I know.
Yeah.
Shout out.
So all of the cities and Greenville's not a big town. All of the cities and all of the states, and Greenville, South Carolina is where this woman was arrested with cocaine, 31 grams of cocaine. Which is funny because they reference South Carolina in the next episode too, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So it's two South Carolina references in 2 episodes.
So if you feel like getting busted for cocaine, feel free to head to Greenville, South Carolina.
Come on down.
You're in great company. And you can hang out with Sallie, but don't implicate her.
Right.
That would be terrible.
Which is really funny because, like, it's not like Greenville's known for, like, drug trafficking. We have, like, one main street. Like, it's a pretty small, like, pretty calm town. It's not like it's not like Atlanta or anything crazy. So it's just funny.
We're going to get hate letters from Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Atlanta. I just mean I don't know. It's funny they would have picked Greenville. That's all.
It's probably because they knew that you were watching, or
probably
you would someday be watching.
Aaron Sorkin is just that gifted that he just had the foresight. So anyway, there's some fun stuff earlier in the episode. They're meeting with Al Kiefer in the Oval Office, and Al Kiefer is essentially telling them that they can't sell science. Like, the AMA has said drug addiction is a disease, and he's like, it doesn't matter what they said. We're not going to sell it. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about how people will perceive things. And one of my favorite lines is he says something about, you don't care if kids shoot up on the playground at recess. Al Kiefer's saying that's how people are going to spin it. Like, you don't care if kids are shooting up on the playground at recess. And the president just looks at Sam and says, we don't care, do we, Sam? And he's just like totally being like, this is ridiculous. Because, like, how can anybody think that just because we're doing this one action that he's just mocking how people will spin things.
Yeah. I'm kind of confused, though. I thought we didn't like Al Kiefer. So why did they bring him in? I guess is my real question.
I think the staff does not love him, but the president values his opinion. Like, he's very good at what he does. He's the guy to get...
we thought he was a buffoon.
I don't think so. Because that's why the president wants to talk to him in California in the first place.
No, nobody wanted to talk to him in California.
The staff did not. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah,
but it didn't even go well when he talked to him because he insulted him, and I don't know. I just wonder why we can't just have Joey.
I take it to mean that Al Kiefer is like the foremost expert on it, and even though we hate him, we have to bring him in and hear him out. That he's the person to go to.
All right. Well, somebody just give Joey a promotion.
But happy moment in this episode. Not happy moment. Well, it's a happy moment for me, except that then it gets resolved. At the beginning of the Al Kiefer meeting, Mandy tries to come in and listen, and CJ ushers her right on back out.
You're being a mean girl.
And
that's a mean girl happy moment.
Talking to. I'm such a mean girl when it comes to Mandy. And the fun part about that is that CJ says, "Listen, Mandy," or she just says, "Listen," and then she just looks at Mandy. she says, "Listen," and then just gives her a look, and Mandy's like, "Seriously?"
Listen, look.
It's a pretty funny scene in that regard because she doesn't say anything, and Mandy just knows. And Leo is she tells her then that Leo is not comfortable having her in the room for these kind of discussions anymore. Unfortunately, later in the episode, when the president is ambushed in bed, he tells them all to let Mandy out of the doghouse. So
yeah, which is interesting, but really, it's so strange. Can you imagine having like your senior staff all gather around your bedside? Yeah. I mean, I know he lives on the premises, but that's strange to me. He's like, very strange. Under the covers.
He thinks it's strange too. He says, "See, the part I don't understand is I've got like 24 armed guards outside my door." That's pretty funny.
He's like, "Try this one. Mrs. Bartlett's here."
He's like, "How does this happen?" Yeah, but other than that, it's a fun scene of them. They all sort of walk in. I think the president, before Josh walks in, the president says something like, "You know what I want to do," or "You know what I need," or something like that. And then he's like, Josh walking in was not on the top of that list.
And I love that throughout the episode, Josh is just going on about the Joey situation to nobody who cares.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, I did the right thing. I mean, Charlie was coaching him on what to do.
Right.
And of course, Josh is like, nah, I know what I'm doing. I'm a stud, whatever. And then he does exactly what Charlie tells him
really
to do.
does. Go ahead,
and
Charlie.
then he's like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then he
She's a fine-looking woman.
Tells all the senior staff and the president in the president's bedroom. He's like, I gave her a coffee mug. I think that's the right thing to do. And earlier he tells Leo, I think it was Leo and not the president. He tells a group of people, Joey said she's not sleeping with Al Kiefer anymore, and it was either Leo or the president who said, well, that's a load off our minds.
Leo, yes, for sure. I love when people do that in general, because Sam does that a lot.
Just gives random information.
I'm going to go to the gym now.
Right.
Yeah, where he's just processing out loud and he just says it. And there's something so endearing about that.
I agree.
I think.
I agree.
So, Sorkin knows what's up. That's why he gets paid the big bucks. The other thing with Sam in this episode, so he takes a meeting with that guy again, Steve Honorato. And I was very confused when all this was happening. I didn't understand why he was coming to Sam instead of Josh. I knew that obviously he was doing something, because if he should be talking to Josh. So he was working some sort of angle. And then Sam goes to tell Josh and Toby that he had this like lunch meeting. He was ambushed by this guy. And they know immediately what's going on. And it was not immediately apparent to me. No. I had no idea. So apparently this guy knows about Lori, and they're just trying to push Sam out in front on this debate so that way they can tear him down with like a surprise announcement about his relationship with Lori the hooker. So
yes,
I didn't quite understand that. Did you?
No, I was about to say, in all fairness, I don't think we're meant to understand it until Josh and Toby tell us. Because I think
sure if that was just me.
Josh realizes it, and Josh sort of starts laughing and is like, he said that? He said that? And Josh is sort of like, oh my gosh. I think that's also the moment where we're supposed to. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we're meant to find out at the moment Sam does as well.
And the reaction was strange. The fact that they were laughing about it.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't
Sam
they
was
be
not
mad?
laughing about it. Sam later says he is hot as a pistol.
That was also very cute.
Yeah,
well, like, I wouldn't tell him to take his legislative agenda, but shove it up his, and Josh is like, I already did that, like, calm down. It's like the little kid. Yeah, it's like the little kid trying to do what he saw his big brother doing. It was so funny.
It is very funny. Yeah, it's funny that he would literally just say exactly what he's like. That sounded good. I'm just going to tell him the same thing. I liked when you did it.
Oh gosh, so great.
Yeah.
The end of this episode reminded me of the pilot, is what I said. That's the last note that I had, just that it reminded me of the pilot, where at the very end, Bartlett is kind of giving them a pep talk and saying, it's good. Leo's got your engines fired up. That's great. But we're going to win some and we're going to lose some. And this is the West Wing,
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. There's just a lot of, I don't know the word for camaraderie. Yeah, that sounds okay.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That applies.
That's all I have on this episode, too. Like I said, it was just I just really enjoyed this. It's not even that I really enjoyed it. I just thought everything went smoothly, and there wasn't anything that I was, iffy about or wanted to talk in depth about. It's a good episode.
But hey, if you guys have thoughts on this one that you want us to recap, I mean, we can always do a bonus ep of all the things that we missed in season 1 that people really felt like we needed to talk about.
Yeah.
So feel free to write to us.
We already have several of those things that we've missed that people want to mention. Another thing that I'm kind of interested about is that we've gotten a few notes about that we haven't mentioned some foreshadowing things that are mentioned.
Oh.
But
I don't want to be a spoiler.
Right. That's what I was going to say, is that we haven't mentioned those on purpose, I would say, because we don't want to spoil. I'd kind of be interested to know, because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, how many people are really listening, though, for the first time? The show's been on the air for 9 years. So maybe we'll give it a little time and see, if you're a first-time watcher and you're listening to this, and you're just now watching the series, then tweet at us or Gmail us, because I just feel like the majority of the listeners are probably long-time viewer fans.
Probably. However, I want to respect the innocence and the wonder of the first time watchers, because I have several people that I've told, like, hey, this needs to be your next watch, and I think that they will catch up.
That's true, and I have too, but I don't think that there are going to be people who are watching at our pace, if that makes sense. Like, that they will already be ahead.
They're probably way past
right,
us.
Exactly, because even I
probably already know
even I want to binge watch faster than we're putting the episode, like, and I've already seen it, and I'm like, oh yeah, play next episode. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear from people if people haven't seen everything, because there also are some people who only watched like 5 seasons or 4 seasons. So in that case, we don't want to spoil it for them. So let us know.
And some people have never gone past that.
Yeah.
We should probably talk to some of those people who stopped at a certain point and have never watched the end.
Yep.
I would very much like to get their opinions.
That'd be interesting.
Perhaps in season 7.
Yeah.
I would love to get some of those people at the end. Also, if you guys want to, I don't know if you heard in the last episode or if you're listening to these in order, but we are doing a review contest between now and Mother's Day 2015. If you leave us a nice review on iTunes, then you'll be entered to win some possible West Wing swag that we found on the internet that we're going to get for ourselves.
Swag.
And we might get for you if you enter yourself by leaving a review. So there you go.
Yep. So
that's all I got.
Mother's Day. Get on it, guys.
It's pretty easy. You could be like, cool, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, literally just good job. Period. So
if you like it. And if you don't, well, just,
that's sad.
Keep on keeping on.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time for episode 21, which is lies, damn lies, and statistics.
We don't have to mark explicit for that. It's fine.
No, I had a cough.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.